I think this video has gone a little too long without a quote from some idiot who's in love with overwork and wants you to be too. Just to remind ourselves of what we are up against here. The only problem is there are so many to choose from. Who should we go for? I got it. Let's take this one from Michael Bloomberg, the genius who spent $500 million getting absolutely nowhere in the 2020 Democratic primary.
I'm not smarter than anybody else, but I can outwork you. And my key to success for you or for anybody else is make sure you're the first one in there every day and the last one to leave. Don't ever take a lunch break or go to the bathroom. You keep working.
But what if that opportunity comes along and you blow it because you haven't been to the bathroom all day, so you end up wetting your pants in the middle of the meeting? You can't just put in the hours. Sleeping in the office or skipping lunch breaks or bathroom breaks does not make you a hero. It makes you a chump. So, if the cult of overwork, led by people like Bloomberg and Jack Ma, is so wrong, and as we saw previously, research shows that it's bad for people and bad for business, why is it still around? I'm not the only one to wonder about that. John Pensaville, who wrote the seminal article on the productivity of munition workers that we talked about earlier, has clear evidence that overwork sucks, but corporations aren't listening. He said, why don't we observe more employers doing this, i.e. experimenting with different hours? I don't know why they don't. Don't worry, John, I've got you. Let's look at some of the main reasons why overwork still dominates in so many workplaces. Technology is definitely a main driver. It's a very common observation that work used to take place in the workplace inside working hours, but with laptops and mobile phones and emails, now many jobs can be done from anywhere at any time. And I can't tell you how many people I've seen at holiday resorts around the world working on a laptop by the pool while their kids played. With all this tech also came an expectation that some workers should be constantly available to clients. By the way, many of those clients may be suffering from the same pressures themselves. It also doesn't help that the world has now seen 3 major recessions on top of each other in 20 years due to the dot-com bust, the global financial crisis, and now COVID. When the economy is bad, many companies use the tough times as an excuse to lay off large numbers of employees, while of course expecting the remaining workers to do the same amount of work with now fewer people.
Hello, Peter. What's happening? I'm gonna need you to go ahead and come in tomorrow. Oh, and I almost forgot. I'm also gonna need you to go ahead and come in on Sunday, too, okay? We lost some people this week, and we need to sort of play catch-up. Thanks.
And when unemployment is high, it's easier for companies to exploit their employees because they have fewer options to escape for better conditions elsewhere. Another economic driver is the short-term profit demands placed on many corporations, especially those on the stock market. If they can't deliver profits and growth that live up to analysts' expectations every single quarter, then the stock price will drop and the CEO's compensation will likely suffer. This makes companies much more likely to make choices that are profitable now, even though they will cost them money later. And deliberate understaffing is a classic example that I've seen in so many organizations. The cult of overwork is also nourished by the fact that work hours are easily visible to bosses, but work output may not be, especially for knowledge workers. This can lead bad bosses to obsess over what they can see and measure, i.e. how many hours people are in the office, instead of focusing on what matters, which is clearly the amount of work employees get done. This may also explain why so many companies are against letting people work from home, even though all the available research shows that knowledge workers are more productive when they have the option of working from home. COVID has now forced a lot of them to give people the option to work from home, and somehow, mysteriously, workplaces did not completely collapse. We all need to make sure that that doesn't get taken away from us once the virus is under control. I would like for at least one positive thing to come out of this whole pandemic, okay? It also seems to me like we start to indoctrinate our kids for overwork starting in schools. Again, this varies from country to country, but in many places, children have long school days and a ton of homework on top of that. Chinese schools are infamous in this regard. And who is rewarded in this type of school? It's the child who shows up for all the classes, does all their homework, listens attentively to the teacher, and never rebels against any of this. Oh, and here's a fun fact. Just like we have evidence that long working hours don't improve productivity, there is also a buttload of evidence that long school days do not lead to better academic performance and that homework has no positive effect on children's learning. Yeah, given all of this, it seems to me that we train kids from a young age to do two things: work long hours and accept bullshit unquestioningly, which does position them perfectly for a life in the cult of overwork. Another factor are all of these articles and videos and biographies and motivational quotes and fawning interviews that glorify overwork. You have to put in the hours, they say. You gotta hustle. Put your shoulder to the wheel and your nose to the grindstone, but never the other way around. Do the work. Success is 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. Make the sacrifice. Never give up. You have to pay your dues. See the 10 secrets of successful people. You won't believe number 4. It's working long hours. And somehow be born to rich parents never makes the list of top 10 secrets of famous successful people. All of this is meant to glorify the grind. And there is so much of it. I call it grind porn. And whatever you do, do not Google that term, okay? Okay. One of the most famous examples of grind porn is Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours rule, which he presented in his book Outlier, claiming that if you wanted to be world class at something, you just had to grind out the hours, in this case 10,000 of them. It is perfectly in character for the true believers in the cult of overwork that they still love this rule, even though it has been repeatedly debunked. Another reason that the cult of overwork is everywhere is that it becomes self-perpetuating inside a company. When the managers are true believers, they of course only promote other workaholics to management positions, and anyone who wants to have a life is marginalized career-wise. This keeps the system in place for the next generations. There are also some bosses that just don't want to make it easy for younger people. I paid my dues, I put in the hours, why should the young people today have it easy, they say. This is scarily similar to the hazing rituals you see in frats, sport teams, or military units, where new members are put through activities that are humiliating, dangerous, or abusive before they can join. New members may hate these activities, but once they're accepted into the group, they often end up enthusiastically doing the same to the next batch of new members. Interestingly, research shows that hazing can reinforce status hierarchies and build loyalty, discipline, and conformity, so group members are more likely to do as they're told and more likely to sacrifice their own goals and well-being for the organization. Does that sound like something a bad workplace might want? Maybe they start by selling you on the virtues of overwork, but once you've swallowed that, it might be easier to get you to go along with, let's say, sexist treatment of women, marginalizing minority groups, polluting the environment, siphoning profits off to a tax haven in the Cayman Islands, or swindling customers. Forcing people to overwork early in their career would help an organization keep out independent-minded people. You have to go along with all the overwork to get promotions. So who will not get a promotion? Anyone willing to go against prevailing beliefs, anyone who puts their life ahead of their job, and anyone who has the courage to say no. Basically, it serves to filter out troublemakers and people with lives. Enron would be a classic example of this. They created a system of overwork and rewards that got employees to commit financial fraud and to joke about it among themselves.
So the rumor's true? They're fucking taking all the money back from you guys? All the money you guys stole from those poor grandmothers of California?
Yeah, Grandma Millie, man. But she's the one who couldn't figure out how to fucking vote on the butterfly ballot.
Yeah, now she wants her fucking money back for all the power you charged jammed right up her ass for fucking $250 a megawatt hour.
Are corporations actually using massive amounts of overwork to get rid of independent-minded people early? If you're thinking this is getting a little tinfoil-hattery, don't worry, it's gonna get way worse. I have a couple of actual conspiracy theories about overwork for you in just a second. There is no denying that raises, bonuses, and promotions are very alluring and addictive. First of all, they're tangible and visible in a way that your actual work may not be. Also, they serve to raise your status among your peers, something we're all conditioned to like, both biologically and socially. Which is precisely why companies dangle these kinds of carrots in front of people whenever they need them to do something that's dumb or wrong. And of course, the longer you've overworked, the harder it is to stop, because you've worked so hard and sacrificed so much for so long. Giving up now would mean that all of that was for nothing, and that's the sunk cost fallacy in action. In some industries, the overwork lifestyle is coupled with conspicuous consumption. Stockbrokers with Ferraris and Rolexes would be the perfect example. You've seen The Wolf of Wall Street, right? And now you're stuck because you have to bring in even more money every month to keep up all of that spending. I want to mention two more reasons why the cult of overwork is still around, even though it is very, very wrong. But now we're going deep into conspiracy theory country. Some people have suggested that corporations and politicians conspire to keep working hours high to make sure workers don't have the time and energy to think about their conditions and revolt against the system. Now, honestly, I don't personally believe that anyone in government or business has ever sat down and deliberately planned this out, but it might very well still have that effect. A worker who comes home after a 12-hour workday may just be too tired to do anything but rewatch episodes of The Office, a show that, by the way, seems designed to reinforce the idea that work sucks. A worker with a 40-hour work week might more easily find time for dangerous activities like reading books, watching YouTube videos about the cult of overwork, or discussing their situation with other people and planning what to do about it. And if you want to get really conspiratorial, there's another theory that governments and corporations keep working hours high so that workers will die younger so they can spend less money on pensions and healthcare for old people. And while some would say that the ideal citizen is the one who works hard all their life and then drops dead the day after their retirement, I really doubt if any corporation or country has ever done this as a deliberate design choice. Or at least I really, 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 really hope not. Really, 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 really.
Tak, jeg er skuffet, hvis vi laver outtakes.
Jamen det gør jeg i hvert fald. Det tror jeg nok, jeg. Oh, stop. There's another... My hat keeps falling off. There's another... det går godt. So given that there are all of these forces keeping the cult of overwork alive, do we have a hope in hell of fixing it? Of course we do. I gotta say, when I started writing this video, I honestly had no idea that it would end up being nearly 90 minutes. So instead of making it one long piece, I've split it into 7 shorter chunks. You can find the link to the other videos in the video description or right up here. I hope you find them entertaining and useful. If so, it would be awesome if you'd click like and subscribe. And if you have any questions or thoughts, please write a comment. I'd love to know what you think about the cult of overwork.